Good day everyone, we are the Group 7 and for today's report, we're going to discuss the Module 9 which is the emotional self. For our learning objectives, in this module we'll be able to examine the patterns of emotional development and understand the emergence of the emotional self. Understand the different emotions of adolescence, its causes and manifestations or expressivity, and appreciate and apply various ways on how to benefit with the understanding of the emotional self. For our today's reporters, we'll be having Rachel Barroso, John Benedict Musico, Kit Nathalibo, Dan Harold Pesigan, Trisha May Munoz, and Erica Joy Bolo. For our first topic, we'll be having Mr. John Benedict Musico.
Today, we will discuss about the emotional self. But first, what is emotion? Emotions are the feelings that we feel that might affect our mood and our lifestyle. So, meron akong alam na movie and I think alam nyo din since it's very popular. It's called Inside Out. And in this movie, merong makikita doon na 5 emotions na nagtitake control sa isang batang babae. So, these 5 emotions are joy, happiness, joy, which is happiness, and sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. So, 5 yun. And story yun about dun sa bata na nag-show siya ng mga feelings and how vulnerable siya dun sa parents niya. And meron ding lesson na makukuha dun since yung ending is very, very touching. Napayak ako dun since, yeah. Nung bata ako. So, yung emotional self naman. So, yung emotional self, sabi ni Burnett noong 2017 is, pwede daw to may described as a child. Since yung child nga is vulnerable at saka open, at ano nga siya, at very hindi nahihiya, parang ganun. Ito yung nagko-contain ng mga unsaid feelings natin. Meron tayong mga hindi nasasabi and these unsaid feelings can affect our life since some feelings that are suppressed can be mentally draining, and some feelings that are suppressed are physically draining also, some of it. And yeah, doon nagiging importante yung emotions and emotional management at yung mental na tinatawag. Kaya kapag nasa school, yung stress management is very important since pag nagkamali ka sa stress management mo, maapektuhan din yung grades mo. So, next naman is the emotional development. So, ano nga ba yung emotional development? Ito yung progress na nafe-feel mo sa sarili mo concerning dun sa emotions mo in your daily life. So, si Catherine Johnson, meron siyang na-develop na developmental model concerning emotional development na nagko-contain ng 7 stages. So, yung unang stages doon, yung unang stage doon is yung the feeling of sensations in response to tactile, visual, and auditory contact. So, ito yung pinaka-early stage nung developmental model. And dito sa stage na to, nakadepende yung child sa mga nararamdaman niya, which is kung masarap ba yung nararamdaman niya o masakit. Tapos depende dun nagre-react yung child. So, yun lang, simple lang. And sa second stage naman is yung mutual affective reciprocity. Mutual affective reciprocity. Ito sa stage na to is, sabi naman ni coach, is yung social relationship daw is meron daw mutual exchange dito sa dalawa na individual na to, which is yung child at saka yung caretaker. Nagkakaroon sila ng bond since sila nga yung magkasama, and nagkakaroon ng cognitive dependence yung child doon sa caretaker. since yung caretaker yung nag-aalaga dun sa child and laging kasama araw-araw o oras-oras, kaya nagkakaroon ng tinatawag nating cognitive dependence. And dito sa stage na to, nakikita na nung bata o nung child yung mga bagay at saka mga tao. And pwede din magkaroon yun ng reaction based doon sa bagay o tao na nakita. So, yung third naman na stage is tinatawag na mutual sharing of affect. Dito, meron ng emotional response yung bata. Since dito medyo meron ng muwang sa emotional self. Sabi ni coach is yung 1989 is yung mga bata daw na nag-i-spend ng less time with their caretaker are more likely less to open up ng feelings doon sa mga kapamilya niya at sa ibang tao as they grow older. Which is true naman since pag hindi ka nga naman binigyan ng attention at care ng taong malapit sa'yo, iisipin mo na parang ganun din yung ibang tao na wala lang pake sa'yo. And you will feel that may invalidate nila yung feelings mo. And dito sa stage na to is nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na empathy. Dito na yung kailangan ng emotional experience para mag-grow pa yung child sa emotional self niya, sa araw-araw niya or sa daily life. So, yun lang naman yung part ko. Sana may natutunan kayo and ipapasa ko na sa next reporter kay Miss Munoz.
So next, we have the stage 4, identification of others and one's own emotions. So here, children start recognizing emotions in others and connecting them with outward displays like crying means or indicating sadness. So here they started to understand that emotions have symbolic representations. Nagkakaroon na sila ng awareness of their own emotions. They can name, understand, and communicate their feelings even though they may not express them clearly, but this awareness contributes to their emerging sense of self. And also how children interpret their own emotions and the emotions of others is influenced by their experiences. So, if they receive inconsistent interpretations or if their emotions are ignored, they may struggle to understand and interpret their own emotional experiences. So in this stage, crucial talaga siya for emotional development kasi this will be the foundation for understanding and expressing emotions both in oneself and in others. Next is the stage 5, emotional pole taking. So here, this is when children start viewing themselves from the perspective of others, leading to self-awareness. They can direct emotions towards themselves and identify with emotional descriptors. They can gradually learn the importance of their interactions with others in understanding themselves. So by accepting reactions and feedback from others, it helps them recognize their own identity. So in this process of emotional awareness, it will pushes them to become better and more open in their actions. Next is the stage 6, the emergence of consciousness of relationships and the generalized other. So here in stage 6, children became aware of social structures and can put themselves in other shoes. assessing situations from different perspectives. So at this stage, children can adopt the viewpoint of the generalized other, meaning they consider how society or other people would perceive them. So they learn na it's not just their own emotions that matter, but also how these emotions affect other and how they perceived by society. For example, they might feel guilty by breaking something even if nobody else knows about it, because they can imagine how others would react if they found out. Also, researchers refer to the emotions experienced at this stage as self-conscious emotions. So these include the guilt, shame, embarrassment, social anxiety, and pride. So by understanding these feelings, it can motivates them to act more responsibly. So next is the stage 7, the management of emotions. So, by the word itself, management of emotions, well, the simple definition lang yan is we need to learn how we should manage our emotions. So, for example, is if you have an anger issue, you should be able to manage that. Hindi yung lagi ka na lang galit or simple arguments and you're gonna let your emotions take over. You should be able to manage your emotions in this stage. It involves acquiring skills to manage and regulate emotions effectively. So they need to understand and accept their emotions. So they develop strategies to avoid undesirable reactions or counter them with when necessary. So they need to learn how to separate their emotions from their actions and thoughts. Next is the emotions of adolescence. So many of us experience different emotions in similar situations as well as similar emotions in different situations. And we have here several descriptions of adolescence emotions. First are adolescence in Western culture is characterized as a period of emotional upheaval and turmoil according to Arnett 1999. Others describe youth's inner lives using words like alienated, desperate, and overwhelmed, meaning that adolescence is commonly seen as a time or a stage of our life where we're having an intense emotions and inner confusions. And next, we have the adolescents are dealing with lots of emotional highs and lows. One minute they may feel great, and the next they may feel sad and tearful. So, adolescents often go through quick changes in emotions. For instances, you might feel really happy one moment, but then suddenly feeling sad and teary within a short span of time. Next is they are experiencing new levels of emotional variability, moodiness, and emotional outbursts. They often struggle with being dependent on their parents while having a strong desire to be independent. So here, adolescents may experience new levels of emotional variability, like some emotions are new to them. And sometimes, or most of the time, they are moody and they are having an emotional outburst. For instances, you are just having a simple or petty argument with one of your family, and then out of nowhere, you just have an emotional outburst. You started crying, you started shouting, you start opening up the past issues. And you guys are just having a simple argument lang naman, and then out of nowhere, lumala siya. They often struggle with being dependent on their parents while having a strong desire to be independent. So, you know that we have these sometimes situations where we are so dependent to our parents, but there's this moment naman na where you're having these thoughts and desire to be independent. Like, you want to move out, you want to live alone, show and prove to them that you can be independent. So next is that they may also feel overwhelmed by the emotional and physical changes they are going through. They may be facing different pressures from friends to fit in, plus the added responsibilities at home, thoughter grading policies in school, and expectations to do well in other activities like sports or part-time jobs. Next is that they are particularly vulnerable to a roller coaster of emotions, and the stage of increased emotional complexity with new capacities to identify, understand, and express a wider range of emotions by Mang and Shaver 2004. So, the above descriptions suggest na it's normal lang for emotions to be unpredictable sometimes. If you feel lots of different emotions and can understand other people's feelings well, you might be more open to new experiences, able to understand others better, and adapt to different social situations easily. So, but if someone feels pressured to act a certain way or hide their feelings, especially during their teenage years, they might feel ashamed about how they feel. So, being open about emotions and understanding them is seen as a good thing, while feeling ashamed or pressured about emotions can be tough. So, being a teenager means dealing with a lot of emotions, but it's all part of growing up and learning about yourself and others.
So now let's proceed to our next topic. Hormonal changes, brain and emotional states. The instability of emotion in early adolescence may be related to inconsistency and variability of hormonal levels in this period of development. So, ayun. Ano nga ba yung emotional instability? Emotional instability is present with a changeable mood. Ito yung pagbabago-bago ng ating mood. Like, for example, nakikipagbiroan ka sa kaibigan mo and then bigla siyang nag-joke sa'yo and bigla ka na-offend sa sinabi niya. Tapos, dahil doon, nagbago yung mood mo and bigla ka na lang nanahimik. Hindi ka na nakikipagtawanan sa kanila. And ayun yung isang example ng emotional instability, pagbabago-bago ng mood. So, ayun. Adolescents may be particularly sensitive to small alteration in hormonal levels due to their lack of prior exposure to these chemicals. So, compared to younger children, adolescence is more reactive and sensitive sa mga bagay-bagay like sa past and future events. Because ang ating endocrine system, ito yung nagme-make ng hormones, and yung hormones, ito naman yung ating body's messenger, and it helps our body to control and nagko-control ito ng function of our major processes and maintain balance within your body, and they help manage energy, metabolism, and production, and more pa. Marami siyang body function. So, ayun. So, next slide is adaptation to new hormonal levels over time may help why moods become less extreme as they progress into adulthood, sabi ni Diener and Sandvik and Larsen. So, ayun, yung hormones kasi, ito yung critical chemical na sa ating brain na nagbibigay ng physical changes, and also nakaka-affect din siya sa adolescence mood and na-heighten nito yung ating emotional response. Sabi dito, hormonal increases in instability, particularly in early adolescence, and may contribute to changeable and more negatively toned emotional experiences. So, ayun. So, it means na teens are more easily swayed by emotions and have difficulty in making decisions. So, ayun. As we turn into adulthood, nagle-less na siya. Fourth slide, ito naman. Yung limbic system, ito yung nag-a-act as a controller and nag-a-act ito as a control center, and nagre-regulate siya ng various human behavior and emotions while also contributing the process of memory and marami pa siyang body functions. For example, itong fight or flight, also known as the acute stress response, and this automatic response affects our thoughts and body and behaviors when faced with a potential threat. Your thoughts focus on danger and your body revs up to help to protect you, and you take action and prepare your body to either stay or deal with the threat or to run away to safety. For example, yung the amygdala, ito yung part to ng limbic system. Ito yung parte ng brain which generates emotions and is hyper aroused once ability to think clearly is compromised. So, ayun, the amygdala is the small part of our brain but it has a big job kasi ito yung nagpo-process ng ating emotion and yung mga things nahihirapan silang mag-isip ng maayos lalo na habang tayo ay In our next slide, it says that the prefrontal cortex is an area for executive function of the brain, thus it is more analytic. It plays a role in planning, evaluating information, decision-making, managing strong emotion through monitoring one's internal state, interpreting the emotion and finding acceptable ways for expressing or indeed inhibiting the expression of emotions. Sa madaling salita daw, ang prefrontal cortex ay isang lugar para sa executive function ng ating utak, kaya ito ay mas analytic at ito ay gumaganap ng isang papel sa pagpaplano, pagsusuri ng impormasyon, paggawa ng desisyon. Ito rin ay responsable para sa mga prosesong nagbibigay malay tulad ng pagpaplano sa pagsusuri ng impormasyon, desisyon at pamamahala ng malakas na emosyon. In overall, ang prefrontal cortex ay mahalaga para sa mas mataas na antas ng cognitive function at emotional na regulasyon. Next slide. It says that during adolescence, the prefrontal cortex is not yet fully developed. Therefore, adolescents may have difficulty suppressing the immediate emotional response of the limbic system. At the same time, they may engage in more intensely stimulating and risky activities in order to achieve the desired experience of pleasure or arousal. Sa panahon daw ng ating pagdadalaga at pagbibinata, ang ating prefrontal cortex na responsable para sa cognitive control at paggawa ng desisyon ay patuloy pa ring nagmamature. Ito ay nangangahulugan na ang mga teenager ay maaari pang mabago ang kanilang mga emosyon at impulses na kinokontrol ng ating limbic system. Bilang resulta, maaaring masangkot ang mga kabataan sa iba't ibang aktibidad na pwedeng magdulot ng kasiyahan o kaguluhan para sa kanila. On our 8th slide, it says that testosterone, a hormone that rises during puberty, has been linked with how the adolescent's brain performs. According to the study conducted by Tiborowskas, 2016, teens with less testosterone tend to rely on their limbic systems, making their brain activity look more like that of a younger children, while teens with higher testosterone use their prefrontal cortex to rein in their emotions. Nangangahulugan daw na ito ang may mataas na testosterone sa mga kabataan ay maaaring makaapekto sa kung paano gumagana ang kanilang utak sa panahong ito ay kritikal sa pag-unlad. Ang mga kabataang may mababang antas ng testosterone
ay maaring nahihirapang i-regulate ang kanilang mga emosyon dahil ang kanilang utak ay maaring higit na umaasa sa emosyonal na sentro or sa limbic system kaysa sa rational thinking center or sa prefrontal cortex. And in other way, ang mga kabataan na may mas mataas na antas ng testosterone ay maaaring mas mahusay na makontrol ang kanilang mga emosyon at gumawa ng mas makatuwirang mga desisyon dahil ginagamit ng kanilang utak ang prefrontal cortex ng mas epektibo. And in overall, ang testosterone ay gumaganap ng isang mahalagang papel sa paghubog kung paano gumagana ang utak ng isang kabataan. In our last slide, it says that this finding suggests that more complex emotional situation like being bullied, failing in an important test, or going through major changes in life and family like separation of parents or death would be more harder for teens whose brain are still maturing. And this tough situation lead to the difficulty of controlling their instinctive emotional reactions. Sinasabi lang dito sa pananaliksik na ang mga kabataan na nahaharap sa emosyonal na mapaghamong sitwasyon tulad ng pananakot, pagkabigo sa akademiko, o makabuluhang pagbabago sa pamilya tulad ng paghihiwalay ng magulang o kamatayan, ay maaaring mas mahirap na makayanan ng isang kabataan ang karanasang ito kung ang kanilang utak ay nasa proseso pa rin ng pagmamature. Ang pagiging komplikado ng mga ganitong sitwasyon ay maaaring madaig ang mga kabataan na ang pag-unlad ng utak ay hindi pa kumpleto. Ginagawang mas mahirap para sa kanila na kontrolin ang kanilang mga agarang emosyonal na tugon. Ito ay maaaring humantong sa mga kahirapan sa pamamahala ng kanilang mga likas na instinct at emosyon bilang tugon sa mga mahihirap na pangyayari na nagpapakita ng epekto ng pagmamature ng kanilang utak sa emotional regulation sa panahon ng kanilang pagdadalaga o pagbibinata.
Adolescents' emotional experiences. Emotional experience is an individual interpretation and evaluation of their emotional state and behavior. During adolescence, pangkaraniwan nating na-experience ang iba't ibang emotions. Pero bakit nga ba natin nararamdaman ito? Yung mga nagsasabing yung emotions daw ay yung way ng ating katawan para ma-express natin yung saloobin natin. Meron din nagsasabi na natural way natin ito or ng ating sarili para mag-communicate ang ating utak sa ating physical self. Yung emotions kasi ito yung way natin para makipag-communicate sa iba. Maaaring facial expressions, vocals, or body movements. Emotional experience naman, ito yung interpretation or evaluation natin tungkol sa nararamdaman natin. Emotional experience requires a concept of self because experiencing an emotional means being able to make reference to the self as having that state. Yung emotional experience na nararamdaman natin, gina-justify natin sa ating sarili. Nagre-reflect at na-evaluate natin. Dito natin masasabing na yung experience at yung pakiramdam or yung feeling ay naranasan natin. Academic emotions. Academic emotions are students' experience related to achievements. It is also called achievement emotions or emotions directly tied to achievements, activity, or outcome. Saan pa nga ba natin may experience ang majority ng ating emotions? Siyempre sa school. Simula nung kinder hanggang sabihin natin makagraduate na tayo, mararanasan natin ang iba't ibang great emotions. Pwedeng sa result ng isang mahirap na exam, or competitions na sinalihan nyo or ng buong klase, mga unexpected na pangyayari tulad nung nakalimutan mo yung ID mo or assignment mo, nahuli ka na nangongopya, na-inspire ka at humanga sa iyong classmate, at marami pang iba. Ito yung emotions na nagbibuild ng iyong pagkatao or character. Introvert, Extrovert, ambiverts na due to experiences, nag-decide ka or nakasanayan mo na eventually naging komportable ka na sa state na yun. 4 categories of academic emotions. Positive activating emotions like enjoyment, hope, pride. Positive deactivating emotions, relief, relaxation. Negative activating emotions like anger, anxiety, shame. Negative deactivating emotions like boredom and hopelessness. The domain of academic emotions would include students' achievements, emotion experience in school or university settings. It includes emotions that go beyond which is related to success and failure. Yung mga emotions natin na nararamdaman, ito yung madalas na nakakaapekto sa atin sa academic performances. Factor din ito sa success at failure natin na na-achieve during mga school days natin na madalas nadadala natin sa bahay or kapag gumagala tayo. Ito naman yung mga less reported emotions or dahil masyadong deep yung pinagmulan, ay bihira silang nababanggit na types of emotions. Gratitude, admiration, contempt, envy. Emotions na considered as purely cognitive conditions. Confident, confused, curious, inspire, interest, lazy, patient. And lastly, yung words or emotions like stress and pressure is described as predominantly affective conditions. Similar to being anxious and nervous, in school, adolescents often see themselves as being evaluated in terms of their academic performances, and the pressure to excel is an important measure of their success.
Hello everyone, my name is Rachel Ambaraza and I'm here to discuss to you about the romantic emotions. In our first slide, it says na ang ating damdamin ay nauugnay sa romantic relationship. Ito ay may malaking ambag sa ating buhay bilang isang kabataan. Halos lahat naman kasi sa mga kabataan nowadays is dumaranas ng pagka-in-love. In our second slide, makikita natin ang iba't ibang ways ng mga kabataan kung paano nila ini-express ang kanilang mga feelings sa kanilang mga natitipuhan o nagugustuhan. Meron tayo dito ang iba't ibang halimbawa kung paano natin ini-express ang ating feelings or ang ating emotions sa ating mga natitipuhan o nagugustuhan. Meron dito is young people still sing about their crushes. Familiar naman tayo sa harana, pangaharana. Nung panahon ng mga magulang natin, ito yung pinaka best way nila kung paano nila mapapakita yung sincerity nila sa panliligaw sa isang babae. Mas pinamodern lang ngayon dahil ibibideo mo lang yung sarili mo habang kumakanta, then pwede mong isa nito sa iyong nagugustuhan. And second is Facebook post. Yan, trending yan ngayon dahil tayong mga kabataan is lahat tayo ay may mga Facebook. Pwede natin doon ilabas yung ating mga feelings, paglabas ng ating mga emotions sa isang tao. The third is tweets, and the last is hugot lines. Yung hugot lines is familiar po tayong lahat doon dahil aminin naman po natin sa hindi, lahat po ng mga babae is kinikilig sa tuwing binibigyan sila ng mga hugot lines ng mga lalaki, lalo na kapag gusto rin nila yung lalaking nagbigay sa kanilang hugot lines. And next in our third slide, it says that Erik Erikson, a prominent developmental theorist, believed that crushes and youthful romances play a significant role in shaping adolescents' self-awareness and identity. He also viewed the experience of falling in love during teenage years as a crucial aspect of personal growth and identity formation, suggesting that it is more about self-discovery than forming genuine intimacy with another person. Erikson saw this romantic experience as opportunities for adolescents to explore their own emotions, values, and desires, ultimately aiding in their development and understanding of themselves. In our fourth slide, based on research conducted by Zimmer Gambach and, and colleagues in 2001 and 2004, it is suggested that adolescents' romantic relationships can offer valuable opportunities for formal growth and learning. This relationship can have a significant impact on an individual's self-esteem, beliefs about their own attractiveness, and feelings of self-worth. Ibig sabihin, sa madaling salita, ang romantic emotions natin is nakakatulong para sa pag-boost ng ating self-esteem and beliefs about sa ating own attractiveness. Additionally, being a romantic relationship during adolescence may elevate an individual's status within their peer group, contributing to their sense of identity and social standing. In overall, these findings emphasize the importance of adolescents' romantic relationships in shaping self-perception and social dynamics during this critical stage of development. Next slide. A healthy and positive romantic relationship can act as a beneficial learning experience for individuals as they transition into adulthood. It provides a valuable opportunity for developing important skills related to intimate relationships, such as managing intense emotions, navigating conflicts, effectively communicating personal needs, and responding to the needs of a partner. And according to Scanlan and colleagues in 2012, these experiences within a romantic relationship serve as a training ground for individuals to cultivate the necessary emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills needed for building and maintaining successful adult relationships in the future. On our sixth slide, the intense euphoria and happiness that comes with being in love can sometimes cloud an individual's judgment and perception, leading them to overlook or ignore their partner's faults or negative behaviors. This sense of infatuation may make it challenging for someone to recognize or acknowledge issues within the relationship. Additionally, the overwhelming emotions associated with being in love may also diminish one's awareness and concern regarding important practical matters such as the risk of unintended pregnancy or the transmission of sexual diseases. The heightened state of emotion and excitement that accompanies love can create a distraction or barrier that hinders one from making rational decision or taking necessary precaution in this area. Parang sinasabi dito, pag nadala ka ng emotions mo, lalo na kapag dumating ka sa point na na-heartbreak ka, heartbroken ka, pwede kang mag-come up sa isang decision na pagsisisihan mo sa huli. Merong na nababalitaan na dahil sa paghiwalayan nila ng kanyang partner is may nag-suicide, may parang nagre-rebelde. Kaya sa mga kabataan, kapag hindi tayo naging maingat sa ating mga emosyon, maaaring magdulot ito ng panghabang buhay na pagsisisihan mo. Next slide. It says that the concept of forever or the notion of a perfect happily ever after ending in relationship can sometimes hinder individuals from engaging in practical and logical planning for the future. The expectation of eternal bliss or a fairy tale ending may lead individuals to overlook the importance of realistic and strategic preparation for potential challenges or uncertainties that may arise in their lives. This idealized view of a perpetual state of happiness may prevent people from making sound decisions or taking necessary steps to ensure their long-term well-being and success. In essence, the romanticized notion of an endless perfect relationship can impede individuals from effectively planning and preparing for the realities of life. Ayan. So, halimbawa is nanood ka ng cartoon, may Cinderella, doon 'di ba laging may happily ever after, um, lahat na napapanood nating mga fairy tales, laging sa dulo is may happily ever after. In reality is pwedeng may happily ever after and meron din namang sad ending. Kasi hindi naman kung ano yung napapanood natin is mangyayari sa totoong buhay. Marami nang nakapagpatunay nun dahil maraming mga couples nowadays is nauuwi sa hiwalayan kahit nga mag-asawa na, may anak na, is nakuha pa rin maghiwalay. And ang sad reality is yung mga anak nila yung nagsasuffer dahil sa kanilang mga maling desisyon sa buhay. Next slide. In addition to the emotion of love, the romantic emotions of American adolescents include anxiety, anger, jealousy, and despair. Romantic relationships are both a frequent source of positive feelings and motivation and a frequent source of anguish and distress. By Larson to 2014. Sinasabi dito sa ating 8th slide, sa kabila ng damdamin ng pagmamahal, kasama rito ang mga kabataang Amerikano is merong mga different emotions regarding sa kanila kung paano sila magmahal. Meron ditong ang dulot ng pagmamahal sa kanila is pagkabalisa, galit, selos, at lungkot. Ang romantikong relasyon ay isang madalas na pinagmumulan ng kasiyahan at inspirasyon, ngunit ito rin ay madalas na pinagmumulan ng pagdurusa at sakit ng damdamin. Yun nga kanina sa sinabi ko, kapag hindi ka naging knowledgeable sa pagdidesisyon mo towards sa pag-ibig, maaaring magdulot ito sa iyo ng hindi magandang resulta. Pwede kang, maging rebelde, pwede kang mag-isip na mag-suicide, lalo na kapag sobrang mong minahal yung isang tao, di ba? Nowadays sa mga kabataan is maraming nade-depress kapag galing sila sa failed relationship, nauwi sa hiwalayan ng kanilang mga boyfriend. Meron naman na nagre-rebelde nga, yung sinabi ko kanina, may nauwi sa drug addiction, na-addict sa alak. Ang solusyon nila para makalimutan yung isang tao is pag-inom ng alak, paggamit ng mga pinagbabawal na gamot. Hindi lahat ng umiibig is masaya. Madalas is merong kalakip ito na sakit at pagsasakripisyo. Next slide. Another romantic emotions prevalent among adolescents include unrequited love and breaking up. Our next slide. It says, unrequited love emerged as a bilaterally distressing experience marked by mutual incomprehension and emotional interdependence. On the other hand, unrequited love refers to a situation where one person has romantic feelings for another, but those feelings are not reciprocated. The statement suggests that Unrequited love is distressing experience for both parties involved, characterized by a mutual lack of understanding and a shared emotional dependence. Both individuals may struggle to comprehend each other's feelings and perspectives in the midst of unreciprocated affection, leading to emotional challenges and a sense of interdependency between them. The dynamic creates a complex and difficult situation where both individuals are affected by the imbalance in feelings and emotions within the relationship. On our next slide, it defines breakup as a normal occurrence in adolescent relationships. According to psychologist Carl Pickard, in his article on adolescence breakup, the emotional impact of a breakup can significantly impact a teenager, with the intensity depending on various factors such as the duration of the relationships, the depth of the teenager's feelings for their ex-partner, and who initiated the breakup. In situation where a teenager feels rejected, they may experience emotions like anger, aggression, withdrawal, or depression. May mga kabataan na kapag nabibigo sila, for example, is nanligaw sila din, hindi sila sinagot ng nililigawan nila or ng nagugustuhan nilang babae. Merong mga guy na nagagalit sila dun sa babae dahil nireject sila. Siyempre, masakit rin sa ego ng mga lalaki kapag nare-reject sila, parang napapahiya sila, parang bumababa yung self-esteem nila, and bumababa na rin ang tingin nila sa kanilang mga sarili. Meron naman ding nade-depress kapag nire-reject sila ng taong niligawan nila. Next slide. This sentence suggests that when faced with rejection from a romantic partner, teenage boys are more likely to express their emotions through anger and frustration, while teenager girls are more likely to internalize their feelings and experience a sense of worthlessness. This analysis implies that there may be gender differences in how teenager responds to rejection, with boys outwardly expressing negative emotions and girls internalizing them. In the Philippines, hugot lines have become a popular and widespread means of expressing emotions associated with unreciprocated love and heartbreak. These lines are often used in various forms of media, such as movies, television shows, and social media, to convey deep emotions and sentiments related to love, heartbreak, and other personal struggles. Hugot lines are often poignant and relatable, resonating with people who have experienced similar emotions or situations in their own lives. This cultural phenomenon reflects the importance of emotional expression and catharsis in Filipino society, as well as the collective experience of love and heartbreak that many individuals can relate to. On our last slide, the sentence highlights the significance of romantic relationship during adolescence and the profound impact they can have on various aspects of a teenager's life. These relationships, despite their ups and downs, are an essential part of adolescents' daily experiences and are essential to their emotional development. The dynamics and experiences with romantic relationships during this formative period can greatly influence a teenager's mental well-being, shaping their self-esteem, emotional resilience, and overall mental health. Additionally, this early relationship can have a lasting impact on the way teenagers approach and navigate future romantic relationships, forming the basis for their understanding of love, communication, and intimacy as they mature. Ultimately, the complexities of adolescents' romantic relationship have far-reaching effects on an individual's development, influencing their mental health, personal growth, and future relationships. And this is the end of my report.
So, how adolescents express their emotion. We express our emotion in a number of different ways, including both verbal communication and nonverbal communication. Facial expression, one of the most important ways that we express emotions is throughout facial expression. So, ayun, facial expression can convey emotions, attitude, even words may not express. So, facial expression can get any messages such as smiling for friendliness, anger, surprise, and crying for sadness. The most crucial point is when we see a person's facial expression, we can initially judge the other person's mood. So, researcher and emotion expert Paul Ekman has found that kumbaga sa ibang kultura, pare-pareho lang tayo ng facial expression kung paano natin i-convey yung basic emotions. Individuals were born with the ability to experience the same emotions. Basic emotions have the same meaning in all cultures and are expressed by the same facial expressions. Yung mga basic emotion, ito yung happy, sad, fear, and anger. Ayun yung mga basic emotions. But in some cultures, when you express your emotions openly, kino-consider nila itong kahinaan or weakness, while others nakikita nila to as sign of strength. Kumbaga, in some cultures, certain emotions are valued over others. Yung social norms naman, ito yung unwritten rules of behavior that are considered acceptable in a group or a society. It consists of what we do and what we believe. For example, shake hands when you meet someone, arrive to appointments on time, don't talk with your mouth full of food. So, ayun. Social norms exist for various aspects of emotions. Such as general emotional norms. General emotional norms are those that govern what is a desirable or undesirable emotion and which we want more or less in life and culture. So, ayun. These emotions supposed to fit in circumstances. Kumbaga, ano yung emotions na meron ka in a certain situation and how will you express it. Like, for example, sa funeral, you express your emotions by crying. So, yung feeling rules are the social norms that seek to guide kung ano ang dapat mong ma-feel, kung kailan mo dapat ito ma-feel sa isang sitwasyon. Yung display rules naman, display rules are those how one should act when experiencing certain emotion. Ang basic example nito ay yung sa Japanese culture, considered sa kanila na offensive kapag nagpakita ka ng negative emotions sa isang authority or sa isang kataas-taasang tao, ganun. And kaya ang ginagawa nila, they mask their feelings para hindi nila mapakita yung totoong nararamdaman nila. Kumbaga, they make neutral facial expressions, ganun. So, for example, yung boss mo, pinagalitan ka and of course, para magpakita ka ng respeto, hindi ka sasagot-sagot, ganun. Kumbaga, di ka rin magpapakita ng negative emotions sa kanya. Kaya, ang ginagawa mo ay nananahimik ka na lang or nakikinig ka na lang sa kanya, ganun. So, para hindi ka lumabas na rude sa ibang tao.
Now let's discuss about emotion and gender. Generally speaking, there are some differences in the ways that females and males experience, express, and manage emotion. So guys, ayon dito sa topic ko na ang isang babae at isang lalaki ay napakaraming pagkakaiba. Kayo ba, nafi-figure out nyo din ba sa sarili nyo kung ano ang kinaibahan nyo sa opposite gender nyo in terms of experience, expressing your own thoughts and ideas, and of course, from managing your emotion? Ngayon ay papaliwanag ko ng mas malawak at mas malinaw ang topic kong ito upang malaman din natin ang kahalagahan na pare-pareho nating maunawaan na ang bawat isa sa atin ay may kanya-kanyang pamamaraan o estilo sa kung paano natin nais ipahayag sa mundo ang ating mga sarili. The relationship between emotional development and gender is complex, while research findings capture what most of us have already observed in action. It is important to keep in mind that there is tremendous individual variation. So, dito po may pagsasaliksik na isinagawa upang tuklasin yung relationship between emotional development and gender is complex, and the finding says that kaya natin ma-distinguish ang gender ng isang tao based on their actions, especially the way how he talk and interact with other people. Ang mga bagay na ito ay matatawag nating observable sapagkat malinaw na ipapakita ng isang tao kung anong kasariang mayroon siya. Maaari itong makita sa paraan ng paglalakad o paggalaw, pakikipag-usap o pakikipagtalastasan, at sa kung paano siya tumrato ng ibang tao. While studies do show differences in male and female emotional management styles, gender norms, and socialization play a huge role in shaping the way men and women learn to express and deal with feelings. The study conducted to investigate the differences between male and female. Yung mga researcher is napag-alaman na napakarami ang pagkakaiba ng mga kalalakihan, lalo na sa mga kababaihan. Lalo na sa paraan kung paano nila i-handle yung kanilang mga emosyon. Sa bawat sitwasyon na kanilang kinakaharap, kabilang din dito yung gender norms. Aware po ba kayo sa gender norms, lalo na noong unang panahon? Na dapat ang mga kababaihan ay nasa loob lamang ng tahanan at gumagawa ng mga gawaing bahay, at ang mga kalalakihan lamang ang may opportunity na makapag-aral at magkaroon ng desenteng trabaho. Kabilang din sa mga impormasyon na nakalap ng pagsasaliksik na ito ay sa pagkakaiba sa kung paano makipag-interact ang isang babae at ang isang lalaki. Ilan lamang ito sa mga mahalagang talakayan sa araw na to. Ngayon ay magtungo naman tayo sa mga halimbawa sa kung paanong paraan nagkakaiba ang isang babae at isang lalaki according to gender norms. First, una dito ay ang larawang ito. Ano ang napapansin niya sa larawan? Ang babae ang nakatoka sa paglilinis at pagsasaayos ng tahanan, at siya din ang nararapat na mag-alaga sa kanyang mga anak. Gayunpaman, si lalaki ay mayroon ding gampanin para sa pamilya base sa larawan. Siya ay nagtatrabaho upang ma-provide ang lahat ng pangangailangan ng pamilya. Pareho silang may gampanin at tungkulin ng kailangan may sa katuparan. Sa pangalawang larawan, makikita natin na na malaki ang pagkakaiba ng kababaihan sa mga kalalakihan, lalo na para sa pang-personal na kagamitan. Base sa ating larawan, ang kalalakihan ay mas priority nilang maglaro, lalo na ng mga video games, mag-travel mag-isa, magkaroon ng disenteng trabaho, at magkaroon ng panahon para sa sarili. Habang ang kababaihan naman ay mahilig sa mga make-up. Kasi 'di ba, ang kababaihan gusto nilang palagi silang presentable. Mahalaga din sa babae ang mahalin sila at itrato sila ng tama. And females value every moment of their lives. When compared to males, females typically more emotionally expressive, gender in the realm of face-to-face communication. This sentence indicates that, on average, females tend to show more emotional expression during face-to-face communication compared to males. It implies that women often display their emotions more openly or readily in interpersonal interactions. Next is females typically are more aware of their emotions and are more empathetic, according to Goldman, year 1988. Interestingly, physiological studies show that empathy is governed by the chemical oxytocin, and oxytocin responses are stronger in women than in men, according to Zach year 2005. This sentence indicates that females on average tend to be more conscious of their emotions and exhibit greater empathy compared to males, referencing the work of Goleman year 1988. It also highlights a physiological basis for the difference, mentioning that oxytocin responses, which are linked to empathy, are typically stronger in women than in men, as observed in studies by Zach year 2005. In essence, it suggests that both physiological and psychological factors contribute to the observed gender differences in emotional awareness and empathy. Third is tend to nurture themselves and others and to form alliances with a larger social group. Use tend and befriend responses to cope with emotional upset. In comparison to males, females often exhibit tendencies towards self-nurturing, nurturing others, and forming alliances within larger social groups. It also mentioned a coping mechanism observed in females referred to as tend and befriend, which involves seeking social support and forming close bonds as described by Taylor year 2002. This indicates that women may rely more on social connections and support networks to cope with emotional distress compared to men. Next is females typically experience more negative emotions such as guilt, shame, and embarrassment, and greater frequencies of depressive symptoms. In contrast to males, females tend to experience a higher frequency of negative emotions such as guilt, shame, and embarrassment, as indicated by research conducted by Chaplin and Aldao year 2013. Additionally, it mentions that females also tend to report greater frequencies of depressive symptoms compared to males. Overall, it highlights gender differences in emotional experiences, indicating that women may be more prone to experiencing certain negative emotions and depressive symptoms. Next is females typically react more negatively to unpleasant emotions such as sadness, fear, and disgust. This sentence suggests that when compared to males, females generally exhibit stronger negative reactions to unpleasant emotions such as sadness, fear, and disgust. It implies that women may experience these emotions more intensely or find them more difficult to manage than men. This observation highlights potential gender differences in emotional processing and response. Next is females typically recognize and process the negative emotions of others better than men do. This sentence suggests that, in comparison to males, females typically demonstrate better abilities to recognize and process the negative emotions of others. The reference to McClure year 2001 indicates that there is research supporting this observation. Essentially, it implies that women may be more adept at understanding and empathizing with the negative emotions experienced by others, highlighting a potential gender difference in emotional perception and processing. When compared to females, males typically show higher confidence, adaptability, and optimism than females. This sentence suggests that in comparison to females, males generally exhibit higher levels of confidence, adaptability, and optimism. It references the work of Goleman, year 1988, to support this observation. Essentially, it implies that men tend to display more self-assurance, flexibility, and positive outlooks on situations compared to women. This observation points to its potential gender differences in personality traits and attitudes. Second is males typically use internal and cognitively driven mechanisms for managing emotions. This sentence suggests that when compared to females, males usually employ internal and cognitively driven strategies to manage their emotions. It references studies by Taylor year 2002 and Al Brody year 1985 to support this observation. Essentially, it implies that men are more inclined to on their own thought processes and mental strategies to regulate their emotions rather than seeking external support or relying on interpersonal relationships. This observation highlights potential gender differences in emotion regulation techniques. Next is report an increase in feelings of contempt and report that their experience of negative emotion is related more to activities and achievement than interpersonal life. They are more likely to deny having feelings at all. This sentence suggests that in comparison to females, males tend to report experiencing an increase in feelings of contempt. It also indicates that males often associate their experience of negative emotions more with activities and achievements rather than interpersonal relationships. Additionally, males are more likely to deny having feelings altogether. This observation, supported by Hamilton and Jensvold, year 1992, suggests potential gender differences in the way men perceive and express negative emotions, as well as their tendency to dissociate emotions from interpersonal contexts. Next is report more experiences of feeling frustrated, tense, and hyper. They also reported a more positive mood, greater ability to focus their attention, and more feelings of strength. Thus, in boys, pubertal changes were associated with both positive moods and a restless irritability. The sentence suggests that during puberty, boys tend to experience a mix of positive and negative emotions. They report feeling more frustrated, tense, and hyper compared to girls. However, they also report having a more positive mood, better ability to focus, and feelings of strength. This combination of positive and negative emotions in boys during puberty is described as a state of restless irritability. Next is more characteristically angry. This sentence implies that, on average, males tend to exhibit anger more frequently or prominently compared to females. It suggests that anger is a characteristic that is more commonly associated with males when compared to females. And lastly, is accustomed to suppress their emotion. This sentence suggests that, in comparison to females, males are more likely to suppress or conceal their emotions rather than express them openly. It implies that social norms or expectations may pressure males to hide their emotions, leading them to become more accustomed to. Last, let us proceed to ways to connect with our emotional self. First is give time to ask yourself how you feel every day. Make a habit of tuning into how you feel in different situations throughout the day. Try looking at feeling charts, which can easily be found through an internet search, to understand the range of emotion and to learn words to describe feelings. Spend 5 to 10 minutes sitting down and questioning your feelings. Can make a difference in how well connected you are to your emotional self. Practice meditation, considering spending a whole session just using your emotions as the object of focus. Second is find ways to express your emotion verbally and creatively. It can be hard to express what you are feeling when you do not have the words to do so. Try to learn words that make your feelings as specific as possible. For example, instead of saying good, which is very general, use words like joyful, fortunate, appreciative, or elated. Conversely, instead of saying you feel bad, say you feel irritated, uncertain, discouraged, or rejected. Use I statements. When expressing your feelings to someone else, I statements are powerful because they promote connection and do not make the other person feel at fault. Saying something like, you make me feel blank, conjures blame and guilt on behalf of the person you are speaking with. Reframe your statement by saying, I feel blank. You can find other creative outlets to express how you feel, like through music, writing, photography, painting, filmmaking, blogging, dancing, or whatever you are passionate about. Third is center your emotional experience in your body. At the core of your feeling state is a physical experience happening in your body. Take note of your physiological responses when you feel something. For example, you might sweat when you feel scared. Your face might become warm when you are embarrassed, and your heart might race when you are angry. Keying into your bodily responses will help you recognize feelings as they come.